Hey guys! So today I'm going to be doing a review of Kevin Hart's new book, I Can't Make This Up, Life Lessons, and I am super excited. I received this book in return for an honest review, and I've already put a review on Goodreads, which you might have caught if you follow me on Goodreads, but I wanted to come on this channel and just gush and talk more about this book because my review is kind of a detail, but there's a lot that I still want to talk about. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing I want to say is that this book was long. There's like an image that takes up one page, so there's a lot of images, but it's still a pretty lengthy book, and I was a little intimidated by that coming into it. It's like, what is this going to be about? But I'm glad that it was longer. I think that you get to learn a lot more about him, and it goes into a lot more depth. Granted, there are some times where I was like, I don't know if this is really necessary. It's a little almost too much detail where, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Hart. I do enjoy him in movies and stuff like that, but I never really followed him during his like comedy career, I guess. I more followed him after he started acting. So if you're really big into Kevin Hart, those tiny little details might really interest you more, but for me they were a little too much. But yeah, I think that the book is like divided into sections, as I mentioned, and each one is kind of like lessons he learned from his mother, lessons he learned from work, lessons he learned from his father, so on and so on. And I liked that layout in the beginning, and I thought it was really nice because he kind of like talks about each of these things that he learned from these kind of situations. But as the book got more further and further, it kind of felt like it was just there to be there. And a lot of the times I felt like the book went through his life in chronological order, but sometimes the sections didn't really fit in a way that would have been in chronological order. Like if you're doing life lessons from your mother and you have a section in the book that's later on that should be your mother, I mean, I don't know, sometimes I just didn't really feel really that into like the whole layout of the book, but the content was really nice. I think you get a really in-depth idea of what his life was like, especially during his childhood and his early career, which was really interesting to like learn about. And in a way that I haven't seen in other celebrity memoirs is he really talks about how he got to the point he was today. Like you could honestly not copy, but you could use this book as like, these are the steps that I need to do if I want to become a comedian and then an actor type of thing. And his advice was very nice and unique. And he goes into a lot of the bad, the good, and the really bad of his life. And I really appreciated his honesty and kind of just like telling us as it is. He was very transparent in his book. And it was great and refreshing to kind of see a celebrity talk about their life in such a candid way. The last celebrity book that I read was Drew Barrymore's Wildflower, and if you saw the review of that, I was not happy with that book. It just felt like very promotional. These are all the great things I've done, and yeah, I'm a great person. And I love Drew Barrymore, and I think she is a great person, but I really would have liked to see more of the darker side, like what she was struggling with and all of that. And I think Kevin Hart's book really satisfied that for me. It felt very much like he was telling me his story like face to face. We were like best friends or something. And the advice that he gives you is very much different than what traditional advice is. Like a lot of celebrities, you know, I worked hard, I busted my ass, that's how I got to where I was today. And Kevin Hart's like, yeah, you gotta do that. But you also have to be a likable person. Like nobody's gonna wanna work with you if you're not likable. And while that might be like common sense, it's like that advice, that little nugget of advice that you're like, oh yes, like that's what I need. Like I'm doing all the working hard, but that's like the additional step that I'm not taking that I need to take. This book is definitely worth picking up because he does such a great job of going through the process and what he did. Yeah, like let's go into the humor of the book. I mean, Kevin Hart is a comedian, he's an entertainer. Was the book funny? Yes. I feel like it was funny, but I think a lot of the humor kind of gets what's the word? A lot of the humor kind of goes over my head in some ways because I don't know his tone or inflection when he's saying it. So I honestly think that if you want to read this book, I always love listening to celebrity books, an audiobook, because they're the ones narrating the book. They do the inflections, they talk in the right tones, so that you really get a feel for what they were trying to convey in that message, in that passage. So I wish I could have been able to listen to the book, and I think eventually that will be something that I end up doing. There was a lot of humorous parts. I wouldn't say that I was laughing out loud at any times. I was just like, oh yeah, that's funny. I think it probably would have been a lot funnier if I had listened to the audiobook. Those are just my thoughts on Kevin Hart's book. This book will be coming out June 9th, so if you are interested in learning more about Kevin Hart's career and his early decisions in life, you should check out this book. It's really interesting. Even if you're not a huge fan of Kevin Hart, I feel like you would find this book interesting and valuable if you're trying to like move up in your career or just kind of like in this spot where you don't really know what to do. He offers a lot of really great advice on getting out and taking the next steps in your life and just fulfilling what you want to do. So highly recommend this book. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, so I love it, and I hope a lot of people decide to check out this book. It's really worth reading. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this review of Kevin Hart's book, I Can't Make This Up, Life Lessons, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!